Hello everyone, Marie Therese Lawler here. So I wanted to talk to all of you about Michelle Obama's fashion sense. I thought, she would be a great person to talk about because she really was able to use fashion to really, grab the Barack Obama fans and her fans. And I think her bright patterns and like cool patterns really stood out to me when I was looking at all of her different dresses. And so I created a short video with all of her dresses that I really liked out of this one article that I found online. So I wanted to read to you an article. It is What Michelle Obama Wore and Why It Mattered. It was on the New York Times, and it was January 14th, 2017. Here is what it says. It began with Jay Leno. It began to be more specific in October 2008 when Mr. Leno, the host of The Tonight Show at the time, turned to his guest Michelle Obama, the wife of the Democratic nominee for president, and said with glee, with gotcha expectation, because it had just been revealed that the campaign clothes budget for Sarah Palin, the Republican vice presidential candidate, was $150,000. I want to ask you about your wardrobe. I'm guessing about 60 grand. 60, 70,000 for that outfit? J. Crew, Mrs. Obama said of her silk blouse, gold skirt, and cardigan fastened with a big rhinestone brooch. Ladies, we know J. Crew. You can get some good stuff online. And thus was an 8-year obsession born, not to mention a new approach to the story of dress and power. When Mrs. Obama understood the impact of that early answer, when she saw the public response to her outfit, which had been chosen specifically as a riposte to the Palin news, it set in motion a strategic rethink about the use of clothes that not only helped define her tenure as First Lady, but also started a conversation that went far beyond the label or look that she wore, and that is only now maybe reaching its end. Though amid discussion of legacy and historical change, fashion may seem the least of the matter. Consider the number of words devoted to what both the First Lady and President Obama wore since the original campaign began. Consider that for 5.5 years there was a blog chronicling Mrs. Obama's wardrobe choices, arguably the first devoted to the clothes of a political figure, and that when Mr. Obama wore a tan suit to a news conference, it practically broke the internet. Ditto when he eschewed a tie. Consider that Mrs. Obama's effect on fashion brands was the subject of a study by a New York University professor in the Harvard Business Review entitled How This First Lady Moves Markets. Consider all that, and there is simply no ignoring the fact that during these 2 terms, clothing played a role unlike any it had ever played before in a presidential administration. And here are some pictures. This one is right here. It's her dress. Well, it's an outfit. It's what does it say? Let's see. On Mrs. Obama's first visit to London on April 2009, she wore a J. Crew cardigan. Here, with Sarah Brown, wife of British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, visiting the Maggie's Cancer Caring Center. Oh, very pretty. That's true. She did wear J. Crew. Very nice. A non-comprehensive litany of some of the designers whose clothes the First Lady wore during her husband's 2 terms in office includes Carolina Herrera, Narciso Rodriguez, Michael Kors, Maria Cornejo, Thom Browne, Isabel Toledo, Jason Wu, Prabal Gurung, Donna Karen, Marc Jacobs, Oscar de la Renta, Ralph Lauren, Marchesa, Tom Ford, Vera Wang, Tadashi Shoji, Kushni A. Ox, Tory Burch, Naeem Khan, Brandon Maxwell, Rudart, Bibu Mohapatra, Zach Posen, Barbara Fank, Alexander Wang, Rag and Bone, Joseph Altuzara, Tracy Reese, Monique Loulier, Thakun, Christian Siriano, Calvin Klein, Sophie Thiele, Reed Krakoff, Diane von Furstenberg, Derek Lamb, Proenza Schuler, and Alice and Olivia. Also Talbots and Target and Ann Taylor. Sheesh. Plus, of course, Gucci, Versace, Givenchy, Alaya, Junya Watanabe, Christopher Kane, Roxanda, Moschino, Lanvin, those controversial, expensive sneakers, Dries Van Noten, Alexander McQueen, Duro Oluwu, Lanvin, and Kenzo, to name a few. And here's a cool photo of her. I put this photo on my blog post. It's of her in a green dress. It's for Christmas. And it says, wearing a Gucci gown to honor recipients of the 2016 Kennedy Center Honors on December 4th, 2016. It is, by any measure, an unprecedented list. The twin conditions of the historic nature of this presidency and the fact it occurred alongside the rise of social media, which turned every public second into a shareable, comment-worthy moment, combined to create a new reality where every appearance mattered. Not everyone listened to all of the speeches or read the analysis or considered the context, but everyone paused for a moment to assess the visual, and a couple who had spent their entire lives being scrutinized as pioneers understood what that meant, and instead of bridling at it, leveraged it. If you know everyone is going to see what you wear and judge it, then what you wear becomes fraught with meaning. Certainly, Mrs. Obama's significance as a contemporary role model goes far beyond her image, but no one understood the role of fashion and the potential uses of that better than the First Lady. She realized very early on that everything she did had ramifications, said Tom Brown, who made the tailored coat and dress Mrs. Obama wore for the inaugural parade in 2013, as well as a dress she wore to the 2012 Democratic National Convention and also during the final debate that year. And she understood, he went on, that people did not just want to know how she looked, but what she was about, and that she could plant subliminal cues to the latter with her clothes. And this is a cool photo right here. Mrs. Obama wearing a Tom Brown tailored coat and dress at the inaugural parade in 2013. Change was the promise and change was the look. Far beyond the amount of upper arm on display or the riot of color and prints or the cardigans. Just because something appears trivial does not mean it is any less powerful as a means of persuasion and outreach. In some ways, it's very triviality. The fact that everyone could talk about it, dissect it, imitate it, makes fashion the most potentially viral item in the subliminal political toolbox. Talking heads complained early on in the second term about Mrs. Obama's allowing the clothes conversation to dominate the substance conversation, but in fact, she made the two inextricable. There have been a lot of words since the 2016 election devoted to how Mrs. Obama loved fashion and fashion loved her in return, and that is true. To listen to designers who have dressed her is to hear a chorus of, "It was the privilege of my career." That the First Lady, a Princeton and Harvard educated lawyer and hospital power player, was publicly able to enjoy clothes allowed a swath of smart women to stop being so neurotic about dress, as she said to Vogue in her third cover story, the most of any first lady, one of the factors in choosing a garment always has to be, is it cute? But her real contribution went far beyond giving women license to like clothes and use them to celebrate their own strength and femininity. Just as, despite the attention paid to the study on how much the First Lady was worth to a brand, I have been publishing for 25 years, said David Yermak, the author of the study and a professor of finance at the NYU Stern School of Business, and nothing has compared to the interest in this. It wasn't ultimately about revenue generation. Indeed, despite Mrs. Obama's patronage, a number of labels she wore have struggled financially, including J. Crew, Maria Pinto, which closed, and Bibu Mohapatra, which filed for bankruptcy last week. Rather, like First Ladies from Jacqueline Kennedy to Nancy Reagan, Mrs. Obama understood that fashion was a means to create an identity for an administration. But unlike any other First Lady, instead of seeing it as part of a uniform to which she had to conform with the attendant rules and strictures that implies, she saw it as a way to frame her own independence and points of difference, add to her portfolio, and amplify her husband's agenda. Our glorious diversity, our diversities of faiths and colors and creeds, that is not a threat to who we are, it makes us who we are, she said during her final speech, and the proof was literally on her back. While most First Ladies turned to a small number of trusted designers to help them create their look, Oleg Cassini with Mrs. Kennedy, Adolfo and James Galanos with Mrs. Reagan, Oscar de la Renta with Hillary Clinton and Laura Bush, Mrs. Obama seemed to work with them all. That is not a situation that, as any woman would know, happens by accident. We all tend to gravitate towards certain designers in part because of sheer laziness. We know what suits us, what we like, and so we go there first. To have been so, well, even-handed in her choices could have happened only with careful calculation. I am not sure people really realize the extent of what she was doing, said Tracy Reese, whose custom-made pink and gold silk dress worn by Mrs. Obama for her speech at the 2012 Democratic Convention became her best-selling dress when remade for sale, and whose black dress with the big red poppies worn by the First Lady for the 50th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington is now on display at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. It was really about us all.